For today's cup of coffee, I have an article that has, I've hung around with this since March the 6th of 2023. This is by Josh Boswell from the Daily Mail, and the head of the U.S. government's UFO office says that alien motherships could be flying through our solar system and sending probes to Earth in a new science paper. The draft paper has sparked a row with the UFO chief's predecessor over the physics of strange craft seen in our skies. The 6-page article titled Physical Constraints of Unidentified Aerial Phenomena was co-written by Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the director of the Pentagon's UFO unit, called the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, the AARO, and former Harvard Astronomy Department chair, Professor Avi Loeb. And these people name things the most cumbersome things to say ever. Because government, they can't do anything simply. Loeb is also founder of the Galileo Project, which aims to use high-resolution telescopes and artificial intelligence algorithms to spot and photograph UFOs around the Earth. He gained national attention for his theory that an interstellar comet that had passed through our solar system in 2017, dubbed Oumuamua, yes, I did have to try to pronounce that one correctly, could in fact be an alien probe, and has written books on the possibility of extraterrestrial life. His new paper with Kirkpatrick was published on Loeb's website on March the 1st. In the article, the scientists and the top intelligence official hypothesized that aliens may have long ago sent a mothership craft across the galaxy with the ability to launch its own smaller probes to visit interesting planets it passes, including Earth. Loeb and Kirkpatrick wrote, quote, an artificial interstellar object could potentially be a parent craft that releases many small probes during its close passage to Earth, an operational construct not too dissimilar from NASA missions, end quote. They wrote that current sky-scanning telescopes, such as the James Webb Space Telescope, would miss such small objects, whereas, quote, our deep space radars and space fence, end quote, could pick up meter-long incoming UFOs up to 3,600 kilometers in the air, and we therefore should keep an eye out for them. They wrote, quote, such objects could also become optically detectable as they get close to Earth, especially if they create a fireball as a result of their friction with air, end quote. In an exclusive interview, Loeb told DailyMail.com that his team at Harvard, where he now serves as director of the Institute for Theory and Computation, is currently using a large campus telescope to scan the skies for such probes and other UFOs, and are planning to set up a second telescope in the coming months as part of his Galileo project. He said, quote, we are just hypothetically raising possibilities. NASA is now designing things that will land on Mars with a parachute shape. These are things that we are planning, and we should consider them as possibilities for other civilizations. Our planet is not unique. There are billions of planets like the Earth in the Milky Way galaxy. So why would we think that this is unusual? I have not seen data that supports any of these. It's just a possibility. But with the Galileo project, we are starting to collect data now, and we will analyze it, but it's too early to say anything, end quote. But he's saying lots. Loeb and Kirkpatrick's draft paper also discusses physics-based constraints for the kind of signs we should look for in UFOs, or as the government prefers to call them, unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAP. The two men argued that it is impossible for an object to travel faster than the speed of sound in Earth's atmosphere without creating a sonic boom, and that very fast-moving objects always create a fireball or a fiery tail in the air as friction with air molecules causes them to burn up. They say that as a result, any footage that appears to show objects traveling at supersonic speeds without such characteristics must be a misidentification and is likely showing a smaller, slower object closer to the camera, or some other explanation. Loeb told DailyMail.com, quote, "If you're claiming very fast-moving objects, then you better verify that you can calculate the distance so that you are sure about it. If indeed it's moving so fast, it should have left an imprint. You can't just say an object moves fast while at the same time you don't see any of these signatures. Someone who has crappy data, fuzzy images, or something without triangulation. You can't claim new physics without actually proving beyond any reasonable doubt that you measured the distances correctly. If you're seeing them, UFOs, it means they interact with light. It means they interact with the electric and magnetic fields because that's what light is. And it means they must interact with the atoms and molecules of air because air molecules interact with the electric and magnetic forces," end quote. Kirkpatrick and Loeb's stance is at odds with the famous descriptions given by some Navy pilots of tic-tac-shaped objects videoed off the West Coast in 2004, described as flying over the ocean with no visible means of propulsion, then zipping 40 miles in less than a minute, at least 3 times the speed of sound, with no sonic boom or fiery trail. The Tic Tac and another object encountered by Navy pilots in 2015 were videoed on their F-18 jet's infrared camera called FLIR, FLIR, I guess. And the videos leaked to the New York Times in 2017, sending shockwaves around the world and reigniting popular interest in the UFO topic. For some of us, that topic never went away. But the UFO Office Chief Kirkpatrick and Loeb appeared to pour cold water on cases of strange objects caught on FLIR, suggesting that alleged supersonic craft may in fact be slower-moving objects closer to the camera. The authors wrote, quote, "One of the most common sets of data within the military holdings comes from FLIR, or forward-looking infrared pods. These sensors provide an accurate, resolved image of relative thermal measurements across the scene. Typical UAP sightings are too far away to get a highly resolved image of the object, and determination of the object's motion is limited by the lack of range data. The range is usually estimated using the flight dynamics of the platform and some fixed points in the scene. The error in estimating the range gives rise to a significant variation in the calculated velocity, and is subject to human bias and error," end quote. The comments in the paper drew a fiery reaction from Dr. Travis Taylor, a physicist who in 2019 served as the chief scientist for the government's UFO office. Taylor told DailyMail.com in an exclusive interview, quote, "That is so uncreative and typical of a Harvard physicist. That's so ridiculous. 2 equations does not a science paper make." Clearly, he has not read Chris Vandenbroek's 1999 paper or another paper called A View from the Bridge, end quote. Taylor was referring to a theory that some UFOs seen flying in extraordinary ways are using a kind of warp drive that bends space-time around the alleged craft, freeing it from the effects of gravity and allowing it to travel at extreme speeds without interacting with air or water molecules around it. Taylor said, quote, "There's some sort of physics that we don't understand. It's either magically frictionless, which would be an amazing technology, or it's in a sort of pocket universe, which fits with the Chris Vandenbroek paper, being a warp bubble that doesn't interact with the things in this universe," end quote. The combative comments show a widening divide between the ex-heads of the UFO office, formerly called the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, and the current leadership under Kirkpatrick on how to characterize weird objects in the sky, space, and underwater. Loeb revealed that he will be going on an expedition in May to salvage a roughly 3-foot comet that crashed to Earth on March the 9th, 2017, hoping to recover pieces of the first interstellar material on our planet. He told DailyMail.com he wants to retrieve pieces of the comet from the bottom of the Pacific Ocean near Papua New Guinea and look at its material for signs it was artificially made rather than natural. Kirkpatrick said Loeb's paper said, quote, 6 months before Oumuamua's closest approach to Earth, a meteor-sized interstellar meteor, an IM-2, collided with Earth. The coincidences between some orbital parameters of Oumuamua and IM-2 inspires us to consider the possibility that an artificial interstellar object could potentially be a parent craft that releases many small probes during its close passage to Earth. I will be going in a couple of months to find the fragments of the first interstellar material, end quote, and that was Loeb stating this to DailyMail.com. He further stated, quote, the task is to see what the composition was. Is it natural like a rock, or was it artificial in origin like stainless steel or some alloy? It's not a cheap expedition. It will cost $1.5 million. We have the boat and an exceptional team with the best people in the expedition game. We will do our best, and I will be on the boat, end quote. Sounds to me like he's got a vacation planned. And there's a lot of us that figured that this was going to happen. Anytime that the government gets involved with anything, they're going to ass it up. And to call into question what some of these pilots saw, and at first this office said, oh, this is wonderful. We're going to treat these people with respect because they deserve to be heard. They deserve to have their sightings and stuff like that just treated in a proper manner. And of course, the ones that they put in charge are questioning what these people saw and what they experienced. I wish that that were atypical, but unfortunately it's not. And the fact that they have had a heated argument, apparently, with the former scientist of the UFO office, that says a lot. And to think that we talked about this on the previous cup, that you have some of these scientists and some of these academics that are so staunch in their beliefs. And let's face it, it is the religion of science, and anybody who speaks against it is guilty of blasphemy. We've seen this lots. We will continue to see that. So at some point, it's a matter of that the population still needs to collect data. Don't expect a government, anybody, to give you a straight answer. Continue to look to the skies. This also is another one of those stories that they're either, and I know that UFO stories are popular, but for this to be kept in the public eye almost every week, that's something to pay attention to in and of itself. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you've had experiences with UFOs, aliens, cryptids, and also the paranormal, the supernatural, the weird, the what the fuck files, any of those things, give me an email, cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com. Also, some of the other ones that if you're trying to get in touch with me, I don't do social media because I don't do it well. I can do it for a day or two, and then I get distracted and I forget about it. Welcome to the wide, wonderful world of ADHD. But the best way is to just go ahead and send me an email, and then I'll figure out a way that we can discuss different things. Email description will be, email link rather will be in the description box, as will the link for the article. Like, share, comment, subscribe, thumbs up. There was somebody over there in BitChute. Honey, I'm sorry that you didn't like about Graham Hancock. Maybe this one will be a little bit better for you. Know that you're loved, and Lord willing, we'll see you on the next cup. Bye.